You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is James Morris. I have Brian Armstead. He's calling all the way. Brian, are you in Maryland or are you still in California? I don't know where you're at.
Good morning. I'm actually in Virginia this morning. I'm in the studios of WERA-FM in Northern Virginia. I'm doing double dipping today. I'm running from one studio to another.
Wonderful.
I'll be on from WERA from 7 to 9 this morning. I said, look, from 7:15 to 7:30, I've got to go do my man James Morris. So,
all right.
Here I am.
So what do you do? What are you talking about there? I mean, I know were they interviewing you at WEAR?
WERA, pretty much the same thing I'm talking to you about this morning. I took a recent trip to Canada, and we're going to talk about sustainable technology. Arlington, Virginia has one of the high demographics in the Washington area, so they get it when it comes to global warming and sustainable technology. So I'll be on the air. I actually am on the air talking with them about sustainable technology, green technology, a recent trip I took to Canada.
Okay, tell me about it. Tell us about that trip to Canada.
About 2 months ago, at the behest of the Canadian government and at the invitation of the Canadian government, I joined a group of journalists to visit Toronto, Canada, and Vancouver, Canada, to kind of look at Canada's environmental record, their commitments to address climate change, James, and their measures to build and promote clean technology capabilities. It was also designed to highlight their environmental protection and conservation efforts and their new environmental assessment processes. Now, Canada would like to be seen as a progressive, ambitious, and responsible North American partner, in the environment, climate change, and energy development, and they want to increase environmental and energy collaboration with us good folks south of the border. That includes the United States and Mexico, James. Our first stop was Toronto. I was there for 2 weeks. A full week. My first stop was Toronto, and you can walk the several city blocks before you see any significant trash or even cigarette butts on the street. They even have signs warning that cigarette butts are trash. The recycling bins everywhere. I mean, you can sort your paper, you can sort glass, you can sort metal. It's all about a mindset, James. If you don't know, then you don't know. But if you educate your populace, then people will understand. We tend to think that there's a big pipe in the earth that we can continue to suck out fossil fuels. It's estimated that by 2058, fossil fuels will be done. So we'll be relying on electric power and hydrogen power and wind power and solar power to supply our everyday needs.
All right.
In Toronto, we stayed at a hotel that coincidentally was by a T-shirt demonstration, James.
A T-shirt
Value Village has set up
a T-shirt demonstration?
T-shirt demonstration.
Okay.
Value Village has set up a demonstration of T-shirts made up to look like water fountains. It was in a city park where water fountains normally flow.
Okay.
And they wanted to demonstrate that it takes 700 gallons of water to make a single T-shirt. Now, when you think of droughts around the world, California is going through a drought. Florida can be dry from time to time. 700 gallons of water to make a single T-shirt. So what are we thinking about here? What kind of water conservation process is that? So it's to highlight water conservation and to make us aware that every little thing that we do every day has an impact.
Oh, so true. Yes.
We had a very comprehensive tour set up for us, James. One of the first places we went to see was a company called N-Wave. They cool buildings in Toronto using underwater energy transfer pipes. These pipes are buried 285 feet below the surfaces of lakes in Toronto. They bring cold water at about 39 degrees. They pipe it into transfer stations and then into office buildings in downtown Toronto, saving those businesses 90% on their electric cooling, bills compared to traditional cooling systems. Can you imagine using that cool water and transferring that cool air?
So what they do is they just have like the evaporator is nothing but cold water running through with a fan going over it, and that cools the water. That's fantastic. Wow.
That's it.
That's a great
we
idea.
had a chance to visit a solar energy power plant or solar energy in Canada. It was an Oshawa Power and Utility customer.
Right.
On a sunny day, he makes so much power at his home. He's got a full array of panels. He sells energy back to the grid. His energy costs are $25 a month on a bad month. It was really remarkable to see him and actually see that whole process in action.
Now, on that note, I want
to have a graphic of the energy coming back into his home, being sold back to the utility. What did you say, James? I'm sorry.
What I was going to say is, on that same note, my father-in-law, who we put solar on his house, he's going to get a credit this year. At the end of the year, they're going to pay him money because he produces so much more electricity than he uses. I have solar on my business at James Auto Center. We have a 17 kW system. We only have a $200 a month electric bill because we're paying for the lights on each floor. That's all we're paying for. The electricity is free.
Good for you. So you're on board with this whole process here.
Yes, we are.
The trip was a little bit automotive related. We visited the General Motors Automotive Center of Excellence at the University of Ontario's Institute of Technology. ACE, as it's called, is the first testing and research center of its kind in Canada. It is wholly owned and operated by the University of Ontario. James, it features a climatic wind tunnel where testing temps can range from minus 40 to plus 60 degrees Celsius and speeds of up to 240 kilometers per hour, including side wind testing. They've got shaker chambers. They've got rattle chambers. If you take a car in there, you want to test it and shake it down for cold and heat or rough road conditions, they can do everything at this General Motors Automotive Center for Excellence.
Wow.
We visited with the mayor's office in Toronto, and we visited a couple of other think tanks and other organizations in Toronto. Fabulous trip. Went to Vancouver, visited the former site of the 2010 Olympic Games, which has been transformed into Canada's first residential multi-unit net zero building.
No.
It generates as much energy as it consumes. It's got solar access, green roofs, triple glazed windows, super insulation. It's a platinum LEED facility. To the west of the village, Habitat Island features deep layers of soil so new trees can take root, boulders and logs to provide natural habitats for plants, small animals, and fish, 200 native trees, and they used 60,000 cubic centimeters of rock and gravel and sand from the Olympic Village construction to build this Habitat Island. We then visited the neighborhood energy utility, which uses waste heat recovery from urban wastewater. You know, urban wastewater with all the junk in it can really get really hot.
I believe that. Yes, right.
You know, if you look at a compost pile, there's a lot of heat coming off of a compost pile. Well, in that water, you got all kinds of stuff that is kind of composting as it floats around in the water. They take that heat and pretty much like the cold water, they use it to chill buildings. They take that heat to use it to heat buildings. They also generate enough methane gas from landfills to power more than 7,000 homes in Vancouver.
Wow.
We visited a fuel cell joint venture between Daimler and Ford. Daimler builds Mercedes-Benz cars to develop fuel cell modules for automotive applications. And we visited a trash recycling facility, James. It's called the Metro Vancouver Waste-to-Energy Facility.
Right.
And since 1988, they've been responsible for environmentally safe disposal of over 25% of the region's waste. They take everything and they sort it out very specifically. For example, they've recycled over 8,500 tons of ferrous metals like steel, and they use this metal, they sell it to private industry, it's recycled into reinforcing steel. It was a fabulous trip, James. We met with mayor's offices, as I said, in Toronto, but also in Vancouver.
Right.
We met with the Mars company. They have all these think tanks in an old hospital in Toronto where Google and a chemical lab and all these different people come together, and they have these open space areas where they can think and think about new ways to improve technology and sustainability across the nation. The Canadian government is on top of these things. If you just walk around again, you know, we have to have a mindset here in the United States that we have to keep our nation clean. We have to look towards the future.
Absolutely.
We have to stop relying on natural resources and use wind power and hydroelectric power and solar power to build for our future, James.
Absolutely.
It was a fabulous trip.
Yeah, well, speaking of solar power, we've had in Florida, we have two amendments. One of them was Amendment 4 during the primary. That passed, and I'm pro for that because that amendment allowed, if people wanted to put solar on their business or their home, it wouldn't increase their property taxes. which passed,
Wow.
which I'm very glad of. That way, because I did it on, that way
$100,000. Give people an incentive.
Yeah, incentive.
Right.
Well, and
Right.
now they got another one, Amendment 1 on there, which was put together by the energy companies that's on the general election in November, and that's not a good one. What that one does, it would keep you, me or you, who if we have a solar system, from selling it to our neighbors. If we wanted to sell it to our neighbors, they would not allow that to happen. So I'm going to vote no against number 1. Amendment 1, but there is a lot of good things happening with solar out there. The technology is getting cheaper and less expensive than it was. Still expensive, but it works extremely well. During the weekends, my meter at my shop runs backwards so fast I can barely watch it. I mean, it's just zooming backwards, and my neighbors they're supplying their house with my electricity because I'm supplying the grid, and it works really, really well. And this is a great potential for not only for Canada, for where I live in Florida, but where you live. Now, Canada is way up north. They don't get as much sun as Bay County does. But I guarantee
Can you imagine if we used it down south?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I know we're running out of time here, James.
We got 2 minutes.
The consulate. I wanted to thank the Canadian consulate in Miami and also in Denver for putting this trip together, and also at the Canadian consulate in Denver, our host Lauren Simpson just had a baby, so congratulations on your newborn, Lauren. And thank you, Government of Canada, for giving me the opportunity to tour with fellow journalists and to see that, hey, we can make a difference here on this earth towards our future. Great trip, James.
I am so glad you got to do this.
We'll talk about the Toyota Prius. Finally, the embargo will be lifted, and that's another way to save fuel. Buy a Prius.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you what, you were going to talk about that, and I was all ready to talk about the Prius because I love the Prius.
Well, then I realized the embargo was still on, so I had to pull it off the table.
That's okay, but next week we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the Prius. I am all excited about the Prius. I love the idea, the plug-in ability of it. I love the idea that they're coming out where you can actually one day, I don't know if Prius, you'll be able to power your house up with your own car, which is coming out around the corner. Maybe not with the Prius, but it's coming, and it's just exciting technology.
Well, GM already had that with the pickup truck a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, so, it's
just
a matter of time.
It's a matter of time before everybody has it. Hey, this is James Morris along with Anna Marie Morris and Brian Armstead calling, and we want to wish everybody a happy Thursday, and we'll talk to y'all. Well, I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.